Kenya will this afternoon battle it out with its fiercest rival, that's Djibouti, to secure the non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council after failing to secure the requisite two-thirds majority of eligible UN member states. This will be eagerly awaited this evening or this afternoon. And the question that we're asking, and Dibal will be asking, what will this mean for the country?
Kenya has beaten Djibouti to the punch on the road to securing the much-coveted United Nations Security Council seat for 2021-2022 term, at least for now.
Vote for Kenya is a vote for multilateralism. A vote for Kenya is that even the smallest voice shall be heard as the largest and most powerful voice.
After much pitching, lobbying and shuttle diplomacy by President Uhuru Kenyatta, Kenya managed to garner 113 votes against Djibouti's 78, which is way too shy of at least two-thirds of the eligible UN member states to be declared a winner. The vote was conducted virtually via a secret ballot due to measures meant to contain the spread of COVID-19. And so, the tenuous journey to secure victory for Kenya continues apace this afternoon at 4 p.m. East African time, with the second round of voting for her to be declared the winner. Should there be no winner emerging from today's second round, there could be a further round of voting still. After that, the contest could be open to new entrants if neither Kenya nor Djibouti concedes. On the flip side, they might agree to share out the seat, a year on the council each. Kenya won the African Union endorsement last August, but Djibouti stuck in the race, arguing that AU decision was illegal. Kenya and Djibouti are bidding to replace South Africa on the UN's most powerful organ charged with maintaining global peace and security. Its decisions, by law, must be obeyed by all UN member states, giving its prestige and power. Will today's vote move the needle a jot? Let's wait and see. Dibala Nair, NTV.
Yes, indeed. It's a wait-and-see game this afternoon. All eyes will be, of course, focused on the UN Security Council voting that will be happening today. And, of course, we know the outcome of yesterday, where we stand at 113 against 78. That is Djibouti's. But we know there's also a cloud that has been hanging over this particular seat, especially where Kenya and Djibouti is concerned, because Djibouti also has been complaining of the endorsement by the African Union. We want to put this into perspective. And, of course, if Kenya wins, what does it portend for the country? And why are we really gagging for this particular seat at the UN Security Council? I'm joined now by Dr. Hassan Kanenje, who is the director at the Horn Institute, to tell us more about what he thinks of today's outcome in the afternoon. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Right, so just to go to the meat of the matter, we know that African Union endorsed Kenya, but also Djibouti has been complaining about the entire process that African Union did an illegality. From your own assessment, do you think it was an illegality?
I think what Djibouti did is to buck the tradition, because often whichever the candidate is endorsed by the African Union especially, which is Kenya in this case, all countries within the continent support that. And there was an initial indication by Djibouti that was actually going to support Kenya in its bid to get the non-permanence in the United Nations Security Council. However, this is something that does not reflect very well on the continent, and we hope there's going to be healing after this.
We also know that the Foreign Ministry said last year that Djiboutians were campaigning without decorum and certitude and were in fact disrespecting the African Union by talking ill of the continent's body's decision. This is by that particular endorsement.
Yeah, frankly, what Djibouti has done is unprecedented, especially on the continent, with regard to how Africa has conducted its relations with the international community and within the United Nations. And yes, there was a lot of cut and paste, for instance, copying lots of Kenya's ideas to try and front them as their own. However, we also understand that certain other interests, and we also know that Djibouti had some reciprocal commitments from some countries, and perhaps that gave them confidence to think they may have a chance on the Security Council as it stands today.
So if Kenya really garners this particular seat, what does it portend for the country?
I think it's important to understand that despite certain misgivings and challenges that the country faces, Kenya is a very important country on the continent that is respected internationally. It's led in lots of agendas, whether it's on climate or humanitarian issues. It's a host to a lot of refugees, but it's also been an important player on other issues within the United Nations. And therefore, in the light of certain things that Kenya has an influence and has a say in, getting that seat, which is prestigious, while it may not have the veto power, it may have a say on the agenda setting within the National Security Council, which is going to be very important in Kenya's need to advance its own interests, both nationally and regionally.
So I needed to ask you also on the rotational basis, because this will be the third time that Kenya, if it wins this particular seat, it will be the third time it will be actually on the UN Security Council as a non-permanent member. But there has been also the debate on the Francophone speaking nation and also the Anglo-speaking nations. And Djibouti were saying that for going by the rotational basis, actually, Kenya should not be vying for this particular seat now. This should actually be, a preserve for the Francophone nations. What is your assessment on that?
Yeah, first of all, there is gentleman agreement, and there is what is important when it comes to international relations. As things stand and where Africa is, Kenya is actually best placed to represent Africa's interest than Djibouti. Now, it is not unheard of that some countries have been on Security Council as non-permanent members several times. Kenya twice, Djibouti has been there once. But today as we speak, I think Kenya is best placed to speak for the continent, especially at a time when you're facing a lot of internal challenges. We're facing COVID-19, problems of climate change. And Kenya has a reputation of having been a big player in this, and not beyond even the peacekeeping that is very well known for.
So I will quote UN, that is UN Mohammed Said Douale, who is an ambassador to the UN. This is Djibouti's ambassador to the UN, I should say, Mohammed Said Douale. In an interview with the New York Times, he's saying that the process represents a violation of the AU rules. And this is why we rejected the outcome as flawed and illegitimate, and as a break from precedent that never happened before. This is in light of what we were talking before, where they're calling it illegitimate. And you know, the African Union norms, he continued to say, works as follows. It selects the national candidate based on frequency and recency of its participants in the Security Council to ensure equitable representation among Africa's 54 countries. Kenya, an Anglophone country, has been council member twice, the last time in 1997 and 1998. Djibouti, a Francophone country, was a member of the council 1993, 1994. Djibouti has the precedence. This is what he thinks.
Yeah, and I think it's less to do with rules and a lot to do with what has been practiced. However, at this point, especially in time in international relations, we, as a continent, I think we have to look at who is going to best represent the interest of the country. South Africa, they're going home, they've completed their term, and I think they did an excellent job. And just based on all standards of measure, I think part of the reason why Kenya failed, they should make a bid or a run for that seat, is because of a number of issues that they think they may have a better say. And frankly speaking, a lot of countries in the world recognize that. That is why, despite the reason that Kenya was a late entrant in the bid for the United Nations Security Council, it managed to garner 113 above 78. Now, I expect that at the end of the day today, Kenya is going to emerge victorious, in part because the previous voting might have been informed also by the reciprocal commitments that Djibouti had with some countries, which may not feel obliged to do that in the second round.
So this little window period that we have since yesterday, do you think that will make a discernible difference as we're winding up?
It does, because part of it is actually common sense. And a number of countries are going to see that Kenya is way ahead of the curve. And therefore, perhaps it's going to be safer to put their bets with Kenya instead of Djibouti. And I'm not speaking this because I'm a Kenyan. It's just because Kenya actually stands a better chance to represent the interests of Africa than any other country. And I think the whole world, or at least majority of countries within the United Nations, recognize the special place that Kenya holds. Of course, we understand some of the undercurrents and some foreign powers that would rather have Djibouti on the UN Security Council as a permanent member, in part because of the less power and the less effective it may be in trying to control the agenda of the African continent.
Right. Dr. Hassan Khanenje, quite cogently put. Thank you for your, of course, sentiments this afternoon. We'll all be keeping our eyes peeled on what will be happening at 4 o'clock, and of course keeping out our ears as well. And as soon as we get that information, that will be relayed to you as well.